You're listening to the Colts Blue Zone Podcast with Mike Chappell and Dave Griffiths.
Hello, Colts Nation, and welcome to the Colts Blue Zone Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Joe Hopkins, and with me is Mike Chappell. And today we're going to discuss the undefeated Jeff Saturday, head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, who got his first win on Sunday by beating the Raiders in Las Vegas. We'll recap the exciting game, discuss takeaways, of which there are many, and we'll reassess expectations for the rest of the year. But before we get into it, Mike, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Again, it's amazing how NFL is a 7-day life cycle. I don't care how crazy the previous week was or whatever. So it was. I was heading into that game. I wasn't optimistic, but I was curious, and they didn't. They didn't disappoint me.
They did not. I mean, none of us were optimistic. We all three, you, me, and Dave, picked the Colts to lose on Thursday, and we were all very wrong. Let's go ahead and discuss this.
One thing, and I told you this off air before we went on. I so much wanted to pick the Colts in my Sunday preview that I do on Saturday, but after going on our podcast, and then we shot a segment for the Sunday TV show, and I picked the Raiders. I couldn't straddle a fence like that, but you just had a feeling that there'd be a boost. And then when he went back to Matt Ryan, I really thought there was a good chance they would win that game.
Yeah, that was a surprise to me going back to Matt Ryan here. Jeff Saturday, that is, on the Monday presser, said that Ellinger would be the starter for the game, but Matt Ryan able to return to practice Thursday from his shoulder injury and must have looked good enough to change Saturday's mind. No Shaq Leonard in this one. He was placed on injured reserve Friday with an apparent setback with the ankle/back/nerve injury, and we'll discuss that more in depth later in the show. But right now, the Colts in Las Vegas against the 2-6 Raiders. Colts coming in with a 3-5-1 record. Both teams begin the game by going 3-and-out. On the Colts' second drive, the offense gets rolling. A heavy dose of Michael Pittman Jr. and Jonathan Taylor get Indianapolis into Raiders territory. Then a 32-yard catch and run by Kylan Granson sets the Colts up at the 11. First down, Colts up the middle for 7. Second down, JT stuffed for a 1-yard loss. Bringing up a key 3rd and 4. Matt Ryan scans the field, dumps it off to Taylor, who muscles his way for the first down. We have a 1st and goal at the 1. Las Vegas called for too many men on the field, so that ball inches a little bit closer. 1st and goal, really just roughly a foot outside of the goal line. The Colts will go with a quarterback sneak, and Matt Ryan crosses the goal line there to get into the end zone. The Colts take a 7-0 lead in the first quarter. Mike, I'm not used to this. The Colts had no first quarter points in their previous 6 games. What is happening?
Well, I know it. And what's crazy is that the only other first quarter touchdown they had scored was against Kansas City, remember? And it was the muff punt, so they had 1st and goal at the 4. So it's just amazing how much – 2 things. It's amazing how well an offense can run when you can run and when you can pass protect. It's just everything's open up to you. And when you can sustain things. Remember in New England, they were 0-14 on 3rd down and 0-2 on 4th down. The offense is all about continuity and rhythm, and 3-and-outs just kill you. So convert. I think they may have opened the game 4 out of 5. I'd have to look at my notes, but sustain things, get the running game going, and then the entire playbook's open to you.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And then meanwhile, the Colts defense continues to do its job. They force a 3-and-out on Las Vegas's first 3 drives. Indianapolis's 3rd possession now. They're looking to extend their lead. A screen to JT gets 12 yards out the gate. 3 plays later, the Colts are facing a 3rd and 11. Matt Ryan has time in the pocket. Imagine that, and finds Paris Campbell over the middle for 15 yards. Zach Moss, the running back the Colts acquired in the Nyheim Hines trade, gets involved. 4-yard run up the middle. Then Taylor for 13. Pittman gains 7 on a pass to the left, and we have a 2nd and 3 at Las Vegas's 30. They go to Taylor again, but he's stuffed for no gain. 3rd and 3. Matt Ryan goes to Pittman at the sticks, but aggressive coverage, we'll just call it aggressive, is there to knock it away. Incomplete. Chase McLaughlin comes out a field goal from 48 yards away, and it's good. 10-0. The Colts, early in the second quarter, have a nice lead. Raiders now trying to respond, and they finally pick up a first down. 4th straight Josh Jacobs touches gets Vegas to midfield. Devontae Adams then gains 7 on first down. But then the Colts able to stuff the Raiders' runs, brings up 4th and 2 at Indy's 44. The Raiders go for it, a pitch to Jacobs, and Kenny Moore comes knifing in to bring him down for a 3rd-yard loss. Kenny Moore had 7 tackles in this one, none bigger than that. Colts take over now at the 47. After a first down on the ground, Matt Ryan finds Kiki Cootie for his first catch of the year. Cootie darts upfield for a 20-yard gain, but loses the football. The defensive back knocks it out on the tackle, and it's recovered by the Raiders. The Colts had an opportunity to go up 3 scores, and instead, Mike, they have yet another turnover in scoring position.
I was looking at the participation chart. Kiki was on the field for 1 offensive snap. 1. And he's had some ball security issues. He's muffed a couple of punts, or muffed one and fumbled another one. So just unfortunate. And you're going to tell us how this thing ended up, but I'll give a sneak. That's their 18th turnover. 18th. And opponents have scored 70 points on it, so they probably scored on this one.
Yeah, and they sure did. Vegas, kind of sparked by the turnover, would go on a 12-play, 79-yard drive that ended with a 4-yard touchdown pass to Foster Moreau on 3rd and 1, that is. The Raiders cut the lead to 3. 58 seconds left in the half. The Colts have 2 timeouts, 3 consecutive passes to, I believe, Kylan Granson gets the Colts to midfield. Timeout called. An illegal contact penalty on the Raiders gets the Colts 5 yards closer. Then Taylor runs up the middle for 6. Colts hurry to the line. Matt Ryan throws it away. Incompletion stops the clock with 11 seconds left. They run it again with Taylor up the middle. He gains 9, and they use their final timeout. McLaughlin comes back out and connects again from 48 yards. The Colts extend the lead to 6, 13-7 at the halftime. Mike, the Colts' first halftime lead of the season.
Since Christmas. Since Christmas. You know, so one thing that was really, I'm going to give JT credit. If he saw a bigger hole and kept trying to pick up yards, the half runs out. So he picked up 9 and had the wherewithal to get down. I think he went down with 3 seconds to play, I think. So, and I'm sitting there watching that game, and they took over at the 25-yard line with 58 seconds to play, and you're wondering, with them getting the ball second half, do you just really be conservative? And they weren't. So I kind of like the aggression they showed, sort of cautious aggression, and maybe that's what we're going to see with Jeff Saturday.
Yeah, and, we saw a lot of Kylan Granson in this one as well. He had a very nice game for the Colts and really helped set up that field goal. Indianapolis with the ball to start the third quarter, and the offense is moving again. A couple solid gains on Jordan Wilkins' runs brings up a 3rd and 1 at Vegas' 16. Play action. Ryan has Granson wide open in the flat, but instead holds the ball, tries to elude pressure, and goes backwards, loses 14 yards on the sack. This time, McLaughlin's 48-yard field goal hits the goalpost, and the Colts come away with nothing. Mike, Ryan has to be better in that situation.
Yeah, that's where you just get rid of it. You say, okay, they won that. It was a 3rd and 1. You just have to say they won that one, and don't make what would have been like a 34-yard field goal, a 48-yard field goal. And I'm sure when he reviews film, he says, yeah, that's one that I just didn't handle. One of the few plays, I think, all game that he didn't handle right, but that's one the quarterback just has got to get rid of the ball.
Yeah, get rid of the ball. I mean, I get it. You can't see the whole field at once. Even the best quarterbacks of all time will miss open players, but, man, Granson was open with room to run down on the right flat there. Regardless, Colts After the missed field goal, this opportunity leads to another Raiders touchdown. Vegas methodically worked their way down the field on a 12-play, 62-yard drive. Jacobs punched it in from 1 yard out, and the Raiders now take the lead 14-13. Vegas, at this point, is on a 14-3 run. The Colts need to respond. Boy, does Jonathan Taylor respond in a big way. On 2nd and 6, Taylor darts up the middle, and he's off to the races. No one's going to catch him. 66-yard touchdown for Taylor, his longest of the season. Mike, we've been waiting for this all year.
Well, we've been waiting for JT to have a chance to get to the second level, to not be avoiding or eluding guys in the backfield, not getting stuffed, or having to pile through a congested line. So they gave him a nice hole. If I remember right, Ryan Kelly pushes one linebacker out, and then Braden Smith just caved in the rest of the line. And once you get a quality back in the open field, I mean, he sort of turned I think it was a safety around. One thing I was kind of wondering the last few weeks is, would he ever be able to recapture his speed because of the ankle? You know, you can be effective but not have that breakaway speed. They didn't catch him. I mean, he ran away, and the Colts put out a stat that's his fourth 60-yard touchdown of his career? And
I must have missed that one.
And it ties Lenny Moore for the most in franchise history. I think it's 4. Or whatever it is, he's now tied for the franchise record for that. But we talked to Jeff Saturday on Friday, and I asked him, I said, what does, obvious question, but what does a healthy JT do for you? He said, man, if you block it up and you get into the second level, then great players do great things. And that's what we saw.
Yeah, great to see out of Taylor. Really hadn't had a game like this since week 1, and even week 1 he didn't break a big one like this. So that's what you want to see as a Colts fan. After the touchdown, the Colts go for 2 to make it a 7-point lead. Ryan has nobody open and just has to throw it at Taylor's feet, 19-14, with 1 minute left in the third. And the Colts would enter the fourth quarter with a lead for the first time this season. A bit of a theme in this game.
Since Christmas.
Since Christmas.
I hope you enjoyed Christmas, because after Christmas, not a lot of good things happened.
No, but the Colts made some good things happen in this game. After allowing back-to-back touchdown drives, Indianapolis defense stiffens up and forces a 3-and-out. But Las Vegas special teams were key here, because the Raiders had a good kick return that they brought out to the 38 and a good punt. They were able to down the ball at the Colts' 5-yard line, putting Indianapolis's back up against their own end zone. The Colts do all they can just to prevent a safety, and they punt it away. Matt Hawk's 40-yard punt then puts the Raiders in Colts territory to start their next drive. No gain on 1st and 2nd down, but on 3rd and 10, Derek Carr buys time and finds Devontae Adams open over the middle. Julian Blackmon slips on the play, and Adams does the rest, runs it into the end zone, a 48-yard touchdown. The Raiders go for 2 as well, but their attempt is no good. It's now 20-19. Colts down by 1 point with 11 minutes left. The teams would trade punts, and there's now 8 minutes to go. The Colts offense has done nothing since the third quarter. They quickly face a 3rd and 3. Matt Ryan steps up in the pocket and finds nothing but green grass in front of him. He gallops for 39 yards, nearly double his previous career high. The Colts have a first down at the Las Vegas 36. Ryan back to using his arm. A 9-yard pass to Michael Pittman Jr., who fumbles. The Raiders dive on it but are unable to corral the ball. Pittman comes streaking back into the frame and gets back on top of it, recovers his own fumble. That effort, Mike, very may have well saved this game for the Colts.
Can you imagine Michael Pittman's demeanor if he doesn't get on the ball? He's had fumbles in the last 2 or 3 games, costly fumbles. So great play. If the Raider guy, I don't remember the number, I think it was a linebacker, just tries to follow or just falls on the ball instead of trying to scoop it up, then maybe we're not having this discussion today. I don't know. But it's maybe this is one of those times where they were due to get some good fortune. They fumbled the ball 23 times this year. That's ridiculous in 10 games. That's 2.5 a game. But in this instance, they got on it, and then some magic happened.
Yeah, something they need to correct, but we'll talk about that later, because that magic you're referring to, the very next play, Matt Ryan, it's Paris Campbell who takes a short pass over the middle and goes all the way to the house. 35-yard touchdown for Campbell. Career high 76 receiving yards on the day. We're finally seeing what Paris can do when healthy.
He's now, 7 for 76, I think, in the game, 9 targets. He's now 39 catches, 373, and 3. In his first 3 years, 34 catches, 360, and 2. So he's surpassed his career. We said all along, back in the offseason and training camp, I always considered him that wild card. Because how can you even realistically expect anything from him? By the time he's missed, he's just getting better and better. They're getting him on those crossers and letting him use his size and speed. And that's what good teams do. That's what I think Frank tried to do at times this year. Parks Frazier really did it. And, we go back to Devontae Adams' big play, JT's big play, this one. That's what in games like this, your big players make plays. I'd put Matt Ryan in that, but, we're not going to expect 39 yards from him very often. The last time he did that was 20 yards in 2010. But it's just really great to see Paris Campbell stepping up and staying healthy and being a factor.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in a game where, Alec Pierce, who had come up big in the past this season, really got nothing going. 0 catches for Pierce on the day. But after the Campbell touchdown, the Colts retake the lead, and they're going for 2. They opt to pass again, and Matt Ryan doesn't see anything he likes. He dumps it off to Taylor, who bobbles the ball. A couple of Raiders got their hands on it as well, but it falls incomplete.
I saw a pick 2 coming on that one.
Yeah, I've been waiting to see a pick too. Thankfully, it did not happen in this instance. So the lead remains 5 points. It's 25-20 with 5 minutes left in the ball game. The Raiders ideally would like to score a touchdown with no time left, and they nearly pull it off. 14-play drive takes 4 minutes and 20 seconds off the clock as Vegas again slowly works down the field. Just 2 weeks ago, we saw this Colts defense give up a game-winning touchdown against Washington. Vegas, they make it to the Colts' 16-yard line. 3rd and 7, Carr hits his tight end in the end zone, but it's knocked out of his hands at the last moment by Bobby Okereke. An outstanding play to save the game. There aren't a lot of linebackers in the league who can do that. 4th down now. Do or die. We all know where this is going. Colts bring an all-out blitz. Carr throws it up to Devontae Adams in the end zone, and Stephon Gilmore knocks it away. Great defense, seals the game for the Colts' first win since week 6. Final score, 25-20. An exciting finish in this one. And you know what else gets me excited? The hometown team. Need new windows? Contact your hometown team today. Hometown Window and Doors are Central Indiana's premier, locally owned, full-service Anderson window dealer with master installers. From design to installation, the Hometown team handles it all. They carry unlimited options with competitive pricing. Call them direct to get 25% off your windows if you call within the next 60 days. Hometown Windows and Doors gives you all the perks of a national brand with a hometown feel. Visit them at hometownwindowteam.com today. All right, Mike, it's time for takeaways now. We got to start with Jeff Saturday and play caller Parks Frazier. Let's not forget him either. They both got the job done. The national media really trashed the hire all week, calling it a disgrace, calling it disrespectful to the coaching profession. I understand the criticism for an out-of-the-box hire, but some of it went a little too far. So, there were guys bad-mouthing Saturday just for accepting the job. What we saw out there, I get it was against the Raiders, who, they're one of the few teams who have had a worse season than the Colts this year. But what we saw of this Colts team was one of their best performances of the year. Mike, the floor is yours. What are your thoughts?
It was unconventional. It was unique. It was outside the box. I wouldn't have done it. I guess not so much that it was disrespectful. I just thought it made more sense to keep it in house and then bring Jeff in as O-line coach or whatever. But nationally, it was just crazy how it spiraled out of control. It was almost like the louder you talk, the more people paid attention, which unfortunately is where we are in today's media. And then Bill Cowher goes on CBS and says, what happened in Indianapolis was a travesty. It's not like Jim Irsay hired Jeff Saturday to come in and perform open heart surgery on one of his daughters. That's not what we're talking about. And it's probably apples and oranges, but I believe Bill Cowher jumped the line to get his job on CBS. Tony Romo jumped the line to get his job in the booth. Tony Romo didn't do those 9 o'clock Saturday night college games and work your way up. So everybody can point to something. But I just thought the national ruckus was just over the top. And you can be right about something, about how it's unconventional. Was Gus Bradley upset? Was John Fox upset? Was Bubba Ventrone upset? I don't know. There may have been a little resentment. I don't know. But you get over it. And I just, let's let this thing play out and see where it goes. But to take this holier-than-thou approach when there are so many instances of somebody jumping the line. And again, this is not like Jeff Saturday was back in North Carolina at that electrical supply store in 1999. This guy is a 14-year veteran. He knows the game. Now, what he lacks is coaching experience, which I understand, but the over-the-top nature of it was just insane. But unfortunately, that's where we are in today's media. The louder you are, the more people they think pay attention.
Yeah, and I mean, we even had our own critiques on the podcast on Thursday. It was, how many times did Dave use the word baffling? And I think that's a good way to describe it. You can critique Jim Irsay's decision to hire Jeff Saturday and his thought process that led him to thinking that Jeff Saturday was the best guy for the job, or at least the best guy he could get for the job. But when I saw some people come after Saturday for just accepting the position, that's when I thought it went too far. It's one thing to say, hey, this doesn't make sense to me, I don't follow the logic on this, and it's another thing to say, how can you accept this amazing opportunity when you know so many other people would also love that opportunity? I get it. It's not always fair. So much of life is about who you know, and that's unfair to a lot of people at a lot of times. But to call this a travesty and a disgrace, when it's only a travesty and a disgrace if it doesn't work out. If Jeff Saturday falls flat on his face, then you can go, yeah, saw that one coming. But he's 1-0 so far, and if he's able to rally this team to a decent finish, and who knows what happens after the season, but if he decides to keep the job and Irsay decides to keep him and goes on to have a nice career, there's a lot of people who are going to have to eat their words.
Well, and keep in mind, when we're talking about jumping the line, Reggie Wayne came here with zero coaching experience. Zero. Now, Cato June, he worked his way up, but it was an anomaly because it was the head coach. That's where it was. But former players are named position coaches or whatever all the time. The uniqueness and the baffling. Dave had the right word. Baffling is the best word. It was the fact that you put a guy in control who has not been in control at high school, or only at the high school level for 3 years. But yeah, let's see how this plays out, and maybe Jeff's a serious contender, January, February, but just to beat the drum so loud right now is just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I think my favorite take on it was after the game. Edgerrin James, who was at that game Sunday, tweeted a picture of him and Saturday and said something to the effect of, there's been 5 presidents who have been 5 men who have been elected president who have never previously held public office, and he lists them, obviously the latest one being Donald Trump. But it just goes to show that, experience isn't everything. There's a lot of coaches in this league who have experience, but who might not necessarily be great at the job. So let's let this play out a little bit before we point our critiques at Jeff Saturday. Anything left to add about Saturday before we move on to Matt Ryan? Because we got to talk about him too.
I think we've beaten that to death.
All right. Matt Ryan back at the helm, 21 of 28 for 222 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 turnovers, 109.5 passer rating. He orchestrated his 4th game-winning drive of the season. That's all 4 of the Colts wins in his 46th game-winning drive of his career. Mike, Ryan clearly gives the Colts the best chance to win. I'm glad Saturday was able to make the decision to plug him back into the lineup. Yeah,
at some level, you're not really happy about that, are you?
I'm conflicted. I'm very conflicted.
And I bet a lot of Colts fans are, and I totally understand that. But if you're in that locker room, if you're a head coach and the GM, you're playing to win. You know the old 1-0. That's what you play for. What was interesting is how this quarterback thing played out all week. Jeff comes in on Monday and announces Sam Ehlinger is his starting quarterback because he just got in the building. And besides that, Matt Ryan's not practicing. And Matt Ryan did not practice Wednesday. So as far as the new coach knew, he didn't have Matt Ryan at his disposal. Matt Ryan practices on Thursday and took the bulk of the first-team reps. And then they talk after he and Ryan and Saturday talk after the practice, and he said, "I feel good." And I guess Jeff said, "Well, how would you like to do this?" And Ryan said, "The only way I know to do it is to go all in and to be the guy." So the decision was then to see how Matt Ryan practiced on Friday, because he could have come in Friday morning and the arm just felt awful from the heavy workload on Thursday. So then at some point Friday, it's so awkward. Sometime Friday, then Saturday said, sometime Friday, the new coach said, how do you feel? And Ryan said, I'm good to go. And they made the decision. I think maybe Thursday, Jeff kind of got the impression that if he's healthy, he's my quarterback. He gives him the best chance to win, and there's no argument. There is zero arguments over that. What's funny is I go back to our presser on Friday, and we were asking Jeff about the quarterback, and I think the question was, so with Sam being the starter, is Matt going to be the backup? Or is Nick? He said, yeah, Sam and Matt are our two guys. We never specifically asked him if Sam Ehlinger was starting. That's on us. He didn't lie to us. We just didn't ask the specific question. I'd really like to know what he would have said. He probably had a competitive. He would have said, we're gonna kind of huddle as a staff and see where we're at, and because you want to keep the Raiders guessing. But there's no question. Jeff Saturday, again, he's played 14 years. He knows what winning quarterback play looks like. And despite all of the issues with Ryan, the sacks, most of which weren't on him, the interceptions, which were on him, the fumbles, which were on him, he knew that he gave him the best chance to win. And that's got to be what it is moving forward. The biggest problem the Colts created on their own is a couple weeks ago when Frank said, right now, Sam is our quarterback for the rest of the season. Because keep in mind, Ryan was not going to play these last two games, or the Washington game and New England. He couldn't have played because of the shoulder. So what they should have said is, right now, Matt can't play, the shoulder. Sam, we're going to go with Sam, and then we'll reevaluate. That's all you have to say. But they went back to Matt, which they had to do. The players were shocked when they went away from Ryan, although, again, he wasn't going to play for 2 games. So that's a reality. He gives him the best chance. He's a leader. He's got that presence. And this thing may end up 7-9-1, whatever. But he gives him the best chance to make something out of this season.
Yeah, and it's no shot against Ellinger. I mean, he's made a lot of progress as an individual player, and I think he can have a good career in this league, either as a backup or a guy who's able to start from time to time. I've compared him in the past to Taylor Heineke, someone who's kind of a gamer. You get him in there, and he can make some things happen. But at this point in time, Matt Ryan is clearly the better quarterback and showed it on Sunday. Let's talk about this offensive line because, again, I get it. It was the Raiders, fewest sacks in the NFL. Just all in all, not a good defense. They have Max Crosby on that defensive line, and that's about it. But still, the Colts have played bad teams in the past this season. Did not look this good. From left to right, the lineup was Bernard Raymond, Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries got the start over Matt Pryor, who had been in there, and then Braden Smith. Ryan sacked just one time, and you could argue that was his fault for hanging on to the ball too long on that 3rd and 1. Ryan was consistently given time in the pocket to go through his reads, and the Colts rushed for over 200 yards the first time this season. I get it. Matt Ryan helped out with that 39-yarder, but still, Jonathan Taylor, 22 carries for 147 yards and a touchdown, his first 100-yard game since week 1. Take away Matt Ryan's 39-yard jailbreak, and the Colts running back still averaged 6.2 yards per carry. The offense finished with 415 total yards, the 3rd time this season they topped 400. Mike, what a difference it makes when the offensive line performs at least near expectations. And not only like there were times where they were just blowing the Raiders off the ball, pushing them 2 or 3 yards backwards.
People were really trashing Frank Reich on how bad of a play caller he is and things didn't work. And I defy anyone to tell me how you call plays when you're giving up 35 sacks and you're getting your running backs hit in the backfield. I just don't know how you do it. It's incredible, not really, how well an offense can perform when, like we said early, you pass protecting and run the ball. And what we saw with JT, the quality running backs behind a good line, you give them 22 carries and they're going to break 1, 2, 3 plays. Not necessarily 66 yards, but the really good ones can do that. And he did that routinely last year. So we'll see where this goes. But the fact that they got, did anyone notice Bernhard Raimann yesterday? No, they really. And I thought they played really, really well. And Will Fries, I'll tell you what I noticed about Will Fries is there were probably a half a dozen times when the defensive linemen were shoving at him because he didn't play up to the whistle. He played through the whistle. He played Quentin Nelson ball. And as long as you don't take it that extra step, that's what you want. We'll see if this carries over, but at least it wasn't the same old, same old. And, Matt Ryan didn't all of a sudden gain more elusiveness in the pocket. You forget about that 39-yard run. But when you can at least play offensive line like that, you've got a chance.
Yeah, hopefully Ryman's able to build on that. Do you think they've finally found their offensive line combination now with Ryman at left tackle, Fries at right guard, and, of course, the 3 kind of cornerstones who are getting paid on that line? Is this the right mixture for this team going forward?
Yes, because I don't think anything else is. I guess they could put Dennis Kelly back at left tackle, but I don't think they do that now. What was crazy is, though, when Braden Smith went out one snap with whatever he had, they put Matt Pryor at right tackle and not Dennis Kelly, which surprised me. But it's just find the right guys. Now, maybe we'll be talking here next week when Philadelphia comes in and blows their doors off with pressure. I don't know. But for at least a week, they found the right combination. It performed well. not only was he sacked once, I think there was just one quarterback pressure, which was the sack. So it's so easy to play quarterback when you've got that at your disposal.
Final takeaway here. The defense finished the game with a key stop. Gilmore ended it with the pass deflection, just like he did in Denver. Gilmore has been so clutch for this team this year. Okereke's pass breakup should not be forgotten either. He had 9 tackles in this one. Great game for the fourth-year linebacker. And while consistent pass rush is still an issue, I mean, there were drives where Derek Carr just had all day back there. The Colts made the key plays in the key moments when it mattered.
I hopefully sometime this week when we talk to Gilmore, I just want to talk to him briefly about what is the mindset of a corner when it's you against the other team's best guy. You know, it didn't happen against Washington. The jump ball that McLaurin came down with, keep in mind that Heineke had like 10 seconds in the pocket.
There's a key difference there. The Colts brought the all-out blitz, and Carr just has to toss it up.
But it's a great throw. And if Gilmore's not right there, it's a touchdown. But the idea that it's because earlier in the game and throughout the game, Gilmore didn't have Adams that much one-on-one. It was other guys, but when it came time to do it, they said, Gilly, you've got that guy, and basically we win or we don't.
And that's why he makes the big bucks, because Gilly's proving that even at his age, he is one of the best in the NFL.
Need new windows? Let the Hometown team help. Hometown Windows and Doors is Central Indiana's premier locally owned full-service Anderson dealer with master installers. From design to installation, we handle it all, carrying nationally known brands like Anderson with more options and competitive pricing. Call us direct and get 25% off your windows if you buy within the next 60 days.
Please contact your Hometown team today. We are Central Indiana's premier locally owned full-service Anderson dealer.
National brand, hometown feel.
All right, Mike, let's move on to injuries because, unfortunately, Kwity Paye left the game early in this one. It looks like his ankle is still bothering him. Really unfortunate because I think at this point it's very clear he is the best edge pass rusher the Colts have on this team, and he's pretty darn good against the run, too. Do we have any update on Kwity's health?
No, what we don't understand, and Jeff didn't really have any information on it, is he indicated he heard it on Sunday, but Kwity practiced Wednesday and Thursday, then he didn't practice on Friday, so we were assuming that he did something at the end of Thursday to aggravate it or whatever. He was questionable for the game, and then he played, so we'll see. But this is another one of those, kind of like with Jonathan Taylor and his ankle. When you're such a power player like Kwity Paye is, the more you play on a tender ankle, the more you're just going to re-aggravate it. But I'm guessing he'll be limited in practice this week, and hopefully he can play at some level on Sunday.
Yeah, they're going to need him against that Eagles team. There were a couple players who left and then were able to come back. You already mentioned Braden Smith. Linebacker Zaire Franklin was another one of them. He left to be checked out in the blue medical tent, but returned, thankfully, because he led the team with 10 tackles. Franklin is currently second in the NFL in tackles. I get there's a Monday night game tonight, but boy, that is one of the best, most team-friendly contracts in the NFL right now.
Was a 7th-round pick, gets a second contract. How often does that happen? He's played great. He has piling up tackles, making plays, decent in coverage. One of the better feel-good stories this year, and again, he's taken up a lot more of a role with Shaq being out, but kudos to Zaire Franklin.
Let's go ahead and talk about Shaq Leonard being out. Placed on IR Friday, like we mentioned at the top of the show. Apparently suffered a setback in Wednesday's practice, so he's going to miss at least 4 more games. But, Mike, the understanding is that there's a chance he could be done for the season.
I will be surprised if he plays again this year. I think, and I've not a lot of stuff going on. Apparently, he's going to get a second opinion on the back, which that's what you do. I mean, whether it's going to be here or somewhere else, if you're any level of player and something's not right, you have it looked at. The most concerning thing, and he told us, we talked to him on Thursday, where he just sort of said, that nerve still isn't firing in my calf. Well, that's what that surgery was supposed to take care of. The one in, I think you said it was June 9th. That's a concern. Anytime you have back surgery, it's a concern. He's not looked like himself. He's not had that burst to where he's just playing, which I understand. I will be surprised if he plays again this year. I think he has probably a follow-up surgery. If it's not firing, it's not. If it's not firing in November from a June surgery, what makes you think it's going to be firing in January? So get it addressed again. You only hope that this can be fixed with another procedure, another surgery. I hate to use the word procedure because it's surgery. It would be because the alternative is not even the least bit pleasing to think about. So hopefully the next surgery will take care of what's been a persistent problem for him.
God, I sure hope so, because, I mean, this is maybe my favorite player on the Colts. I love watching him play out there. Really, the maniac was the best way to describe how he played. Just 74 snaps this year between, the late start to the season coming off of the surgery, and then first game back, he has that crushing hit right to his face, broken nose, concussion, bleeding all over the field. I mean, you don't even want to say it, but it's got to creep into your head that he might never be the same player again. I mean, you certainly hope so. It's too early to start worrying about things like that. Hopefully he can get right over the course of the next year or so. But it's not like it's an ACL or a broken bone, one of those things that's kind of become routine. I mean, a nerve that starts in your back and goes down and impacts your calf. I'm no doctor, and for good reason, because I don't understand how that works. But this is some scary stuff going on with Leonard.
I'm not sure how you cannot think that. I mean, you have to think that, they've already had the June surgery to address this. That's why you had the surgery, and that's why he went through all the extensive rehab and getting back and practicing and playing. And basically, you're back to square one. You're back to where I assume, you're back to where you were in OTAs when he couldn't practice, and you decided to have surgery. So it's not a good thing. Hopefully, you can do amazing things medically these days. Boy, when it's a back, you just don't know. So we'll keep our fingers crossed on what the future is for him.
Absolutely. It'll be sending prayers out to Darius for, the physical health. And also, this is a guy who opened up about how mentally and emotionally challenging last year was for him. I can't imagine this year being any easier. Let's go ahead and look at the AFC South. Titans continue to have a stranglehold on the division after a 17-10 win over the Denver Broncos. They did this despite missing several key starters on defense, including their star defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons. The Colts still in second place with a 4-5-1 record. Jaguars fall to 3-7 after a 27-17 loss in Kansas City. And the Houston Texans still have just one win on the year after a 24-16 loss to the Giants. So they're currently on a fast track to that first overall pick. Mike, let's discuss the Colts' expectations for the rest of the year to wrap up the show here. I'm just kind of wondering, where does the team go from here? Just a few days ago, a lot of Colts fans, me included, had accepted the losing season and had our eyes set on a high draft pick. Now, with a new coach, the Colts pick up a win and are technically on the bubble for a wild card spot at 4-5-1 as things stand currently. Is this a team capable, in your opinion, of going on a run and making the playoffs, or are they going to win just enough to finish around 500, missing out on both the postseason and a high draft pick?
Probably the latter. Probably, if you look at they've already squandered the easy part, the quote easy part of their schedule. The first 7 games. That's when they had to make hay. They didn't. You got Philadelphia coming up. You've got Dallas still, the Giants.
Minnesota,
Pittsburgh. So I kind of thought that going into the Raider game, if they lose to the Raiders, I saw maybe 2 more wins. Pittsburgh and Houston. So who knows? I mean, anyone who says they know how these last 7 games are going to play out, they're just guessing. Because one thing I asked Jeff Saturday about today is so many times when there's a change, whether it's the coach or even the quarterback, you get an immediate boost. There's an emotional boost, and maybe you have a game like Sunday, and then you come back, and then how do you kind of build on that because the emotion's gone or not as strong? And he just said you stick to the process. He's channeling his inner Tony Dungy and even Frank Reich, but I just think the hill is so steep to climb. I think you can forget about the AFC South. They're too far behind. And there's some teams kind of getting their act together in the AFC, although all of a sudden the AFC West, Colts are 3-0 against the AFC West.
Go figure.
I mean, go figure. And 1-4-1 in the division? So, yeah, I don't know. I think what you said, they're going to be just good enough to keep us looking in December. Well, if these 12 things happen, they've got a chance. But from having been through a 1-15 and 3-13 and 2-14 and all that, I understand it messes up the draft for next year. I understand that, but no one should have to go through 1-15, 2-14 because December is awful, and the light from what you might get in April doesn't shine bright enough to help December be more easy to deal with. So I think they're going to keep everybody entertained. I think they're going to be respectable and fall short just because that's where they've put themselves.
Other than avoiding, just a miserable couple months at the end of the year, is there some sort of immeasurable value in finishing that way rather than just, losing out or losing all but one game? Is there some kind of momentum, especially with a new coach who, at least for now, we have to assume it's going to be Jeff Saturday going into next year just because, we have no better guess on who else it might be. Is there something they can gain even if it's not a playoff spot at the end of this year, or is it just kind of help you in the moment?
It helps you in the moment. There won't be any carryover from going, I get my math mixed up, 6-10-1 or 7-8-1, no, 7-9-1, whatever. No, I don't think so, because if they end up missing the playoffs, which they probably will, who knows how much of this team comes back. Let's take it, and this could be, Dave would be good to get in on this. What happens if Ryan plays well the rest of the way? You get the running game going and all of a sudden protection. And Ryan, all of a sudden he shows you, when you've got things in place, he can still play at this level. Is he back next year? Now, it's going to cost you, whatever it is, $35 million. Or I guess it's close to that, $17 more million if you do that. Or do you just blow the roster up and go to the draft and find a guy at some level and maybe not bring back some of your star players? I don't know. But I don't think that being really competitive and winning games you shouldn't and beating the Giants and the Chargers and whatever, I don't think there's any carryover just because I think there's going to be change at the end that will nullify any momentum you may have. But it's going to be very, very entertaining down the stretch.
It sure will, whatever happens. And to answer your question there about blowing it up or not, I think that entirely depends on if Chris Ballard is back. I think if Chris Ballard's back, he continues to try and build on this roster, especially if it shows the life at the end of the year. The offensive line finally gets it together and shows that, okay, maybe these guys aren't worth just shipping off or trying to get out of their contracts. But either way, they're going to have to find a way to get something in the draft this year, either at quarterback and you keep Ryan and the guy sits for a year, or a left tackle if you don't feel like Ryman can be your guy. They got to get something. Heck, another defensive end. They're still searching for that consistent pressure. And I thought Tony Dungy made a really. All right, sorry about that, folks. A little technical difficulties there. But as I was saying, something that Tony Dungy said earlier this week. I believe it was on the Dan Patrick show, but he was talking about the strangeness of the Jeff Saturday hire and giving up on the season and tanking and the idea of tanking. Not that he was accusing the Colts of doing such, but he kind of made the point that Patrick Mahomes was 10th pick in the draft. It wasn't a first, top 5 pick or anything like that. The highest drafted quarterback in that draft was Mitch Trubisky at 2. You look a couple years ago, Josh Allen, I believe, was the 3rd quarterback taken behind Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. Lamar Jackson went, I believe, 32nd. I think he was the last pick in that first round. So just because you guarantee yourself a high draft pick does not mean you're going to come away with the right guy. There are a lot of different ways to acquire a terrific quarterback through the draft. And, just because you lose out for the rest of the year and get that draft pick does not guarantee yourself that player. So, and again, going back to Mahomes, the Chiefs traded up from somewhere in the 20s to 10 to take him in that draft. Deshaun Watson went 2 picks later at 12. I get all the stuff off the field, but on the field, he's been a terrific player. So I think, that's what I would point to at this point. To kind of give yourself some hope, and that's what I'm doing to give myself hope, is even if the Colts finish 7-9-1 and end up kind of in no man's land where they don't make the playoffs and they don't get a high draft pick, that doesn't mean that they can't come away and find their quarterback through this draft. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here on the show. Thank you so much for listening to the Colts Blue Zone podcast. Follow us on Twitter for news and notes throughout the week at Colts Blue Zone. Follow Mike at mchappell51. I deleted my Twitter because it was starting to give me a headache. But you can follow Dave Griffiths, who will be back on Thursday, at DaveG_sports. Again, thank you so much for listening, Colts fan, and sticking with us throughout the year. We'll be back on Thursday to preview their game against Nick Sirianni, former offensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts, and his undefeated Philadelphia Eagles.